but those of you who know me know the whole history behind it. But to summarize it, I was on a coaching call with my coach at that time, Christina, and we were talking about different geographic farming things I was doing and how I was getting them out, and she basically complimented me and said, I wish every one of my coaching clients had what you had and the ability to execute the way you did. And kind of in jest, I just basically told Christina, I'm like, well, I should create a company. What would I call it? GeographicFarm.com is available, and that's kind of how the company actually started, was on a coaching call, and this is before I became a coach for Tom. So anyways, we started off small. We grew quicker than we could ever expect, and then of course I go to my mentor and Tom Ferry and good friend and said, hey, here's what we're doing. This is where we're going. And he basically came in and told me the candid truth that I needed to hear, which is, you're the artist, you know how to run a team, but this company is going to grow much larger than you can ever handle. So we need to put the people and stuff in place. Let's partner and make this company great. And that's what Tom and I did, was we partnered. We put an amazing CEO in place who's an extreme operator and complements me being an artist. And that being said, my favorite thing about this is I came from a marketing background. I came from a commercial printing sales background. I know graphic design. So I get to be the artist and create new stuff. And whatever works the best for me, I get to share with Geographic Farm and the clients out there. And on top of that, I am a licensed real estate broker in the state of Arizona. I'm a co-founder in a company called Launch Real Estate. We're a high-ranking real estate brokerage that literally started January of last year, and I run my team within that company, which is kind of my comfort zone and what I enjoy doing on top of being the artist behind Geographic Farm.
Very cool. Well, thank you for that, Chris. And let's get a little more into the real estate side of things. So how big is your team over there at Launch?
We have 9 full-time agents. And at this time, we have 1 admin staff with another support staff coming on next month.
Okay, excellent. So you're really a team of 10, soon to be 11. And what kind of marketing do you guys do? Outside of Geographic Farm, of course. What other marketing do you guys use to keep your agents busy?
There's several pillars we use. We have a great website with a killer online pay-per-click program that attracts several buyers to the site every day. I think just yesterday we generated 15 or 16 buyer leads for our team. Of course, we do, Zillow, Homes.com. We do all the premier sites so that we can get premier exposure on a lot of those different sites. Open houses. If you just go through the list, we pretty much cover it all the way down to expired listings. I have Lisa from my team that's just like a ninja when it comes to expired listings, and she has this sweet way of just setting up appointment after appointment after appointment. So basically, you take 10 or 15 pillars, and I'd say we really focus in on obviously our GeoFarm, our online pay-per-click programs to attract buyers and sellers, and then of course most importantly is our past client sphere of influence. Everybody on this line knows that a majority of your business comes from your past client sphere of influence. It's the #1 most important thing you can do as a real estate agent. And then you supplement and continue to grow your book of business by using tools like GeoFarm and websites and pay-per-lead type sites and that type of stuff. When I was coaching, I always just told my coaching clients, it's like, if it works, you use it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's no bad way to generate a lead, right?
Exactly.
Cool. And then, the end of Julie's question here is, what's your long-term goal? Where do you see yourself, 5, 10, 15 years from now?
I love real estate. My wife and I have put ourselves in a great position with some investments and rental properties and different things like that to where, I'll never be forced to go into an office, but ultimately, I love to create, which is why I have GeoFarm, and I love to sell homes and help sellers and work with the clients that I work with and guide my team and help grow amazing real estate agents within our company and our team. So I have a passion for those things. So if just take money completely off the table, it's like I would still do that. So I don't know that I'd be doing that until 80, but but time will tell.
Very cool. Well, cool. Well, thank you for the question, Julie. Let's go ahead and jump to the next question, which came in from Jason. He wants to know what's the best way to get results with a limited budget?
Limited budget. So Jason, learn the word sweat equity. Okay, so when I was coaching my clients, I always basically explain to them, you have check equity and you have sweat equity. So what does your bank account look like this month? How much money are you dedicating towards marketing? So let's talk limited budget items. I mean, basically, you need to be sitting open houses. You can post ads on Craigslist. You can go after small pay-per-click campaigns. You can door knock neighborhoods. I mean, it's as simple as opening. The graphic designer in me is like dying right now by me saying this, but you can open Microsoft Word, create a quick market update for a neighborhood, door knock that neighborhood, put stuff in sellers' hands, and basically put in sweat equity. The reality is, I mean, you could be completely successful in real estate and not spend a penny on marketing, but you know, you're going to really be working your sphere, doing your 554 calls, door knocking, you name it, being social, being out there and in front of people and not afraid to ask for the business and being that professional. So, I mean, that stuff is fairly inexpensive. So if you have a limited budget, definitely do that. And we have new team members on the team that, I mean, before they're granted access to our lead database and the systems and stuff that we have, they have to do some of those sweat equity items. And, I mean, open houses, I mean, there's no such thing as a bad open house ever. I mean, if you do it correctly, I mean, you can generate 4 or 5 potential buyer leads out of that open house. But the way we do it, we fully expect to at least pull 3 to 5 buyer leads out of the open house and 1 potential seller. So we have a whole system for that. It would take a whole different call.
Well, maybe we could do that call later, you know, later in a few weeks. So cool. Okay, I think
myself up for something.
You sure did. You sure did. Cool. So the next question, I'm going to give Lisa credit for the question because she was in first, but we got this question several times and a few different ways it's being asked. But you know, how do you follow up with your leads? You know, what's your strategy to convert leads as they come in? Whether it be buyer lead, seller lead, when a lead comes in, what do you and your team do?
Well, I mean, the key thing is role playing, and I never really liked the word scripts, and I know us as real estate agents, we're like, what's the script? What script do you say? And the reality is, the script for our team is when the lead comes in, let's pretend it's a seller lead. We always say, you know, earlier today you were on X website. I'm Chris Morrison with the Morrison team. And I believe if somebody puts their real information into our website, they deserve a call back from a professional. And that's where the script part ends, and basically they have permission to go whatever way they want. Because you have certain members of my team that will say, oh, I noticed that you were in Hillcrest Estates, and you know, I know the neighborhood well, the elementary schools out there. So you basically let them go the direction so that they don't sound like they're following a script. If you script the first part of it, it'll tee them up for success for whatever direction they take the conversation. So, you know, same thing with a buyer. You went to morrisonteam.com, you put your real information in there. I'm Chris Morrison from the Morrison team, and we believe that you deserve a call back from a professional. Now, I see you're looking for homes in 85018. Tell me, do you have kids that are going to school in that area? And basically, we build up the tools that we have so we can convert that client and get them off of whatever website that they came in from, or if they're just searching on Google, and get them hooked on our system so we can nurture them and close them and convert them. Because, I mean, all these leads, seller and buyer leads, these are long-term plays. I mean, I tell this story all the time. I mean, I had a card that I sent out like 3 years ago that we just got a listing on. So, I mean, wow. It is a branding and long-term play. So,
yeah, you really just fill in your database.
Did I really answer your question there?
Well, you did. You know, we recorded a really great video a couple weeks ago and shared it on our Facebook page, and I sent an email out with it. And I'm sure not everybody on this call got a chance to see it. But the what I was kind of looking for you to talk on is, you know, when a lead comes in, what's your strategy? So that's great. Okay. You know, when you get somebody on the line, but getting somebody on the line sometimes is the hardest part. So when a lead comes in, kind of what's your guys' overall strategy?
Well, we've been doing this for a while, and we found the best strategy is 3 phone calls, and you don't leave voicemails. And the psychology behind that is, imagine right now, Matt, your phone is on your desk blowing up, and you get a call from a number you don't know, and then they hang up, and you get another call from the number you don't know. And even though we're on this conference call, if you get that third call, you're probably going to pick it up because it could be
Right.
important.
Yeah.
And then
Seems
we
like
go
an
into our
emergency.
script. So it's call, 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 no voicemail. And then what we do is we send them a text. And then if we can't get a hold of them via text, we'll usually door drop them, depending on the home, the area, the price of the home, how bad we want the listing, who's up for that day. And then we put them on an email drip.
Gotcha. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. So that's a great strategy on getting that initial contact, and you have a really good script obviously for when you do. That ties really well into the next question from Patrick Ferry is what's your call script? So I think we've covered that pretty well. But the second part of his question is what's your text script? So you call on the text. What does that text say?
Well, for buyers, it's different than sellers. Let's start with sellers. I mean,
Sure.
usually what I'll do is I'll shoot them a text, and basically I'll just put in the text. I'll just copy literally on my phone. I'll copy the address that was the address capture. Maybe it was a full lead capture. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other. And I'll text them their home address and just say, I'm calling you in regards to this address. Please give me a call at your earliest convenience. And then people,
Okay.
I mean, basically they see their address in a text, and what are you thinking? Like,
Yeah.
okay, did the dog get out? I mean, is my house on fire?
Is there a leak?
Think the worst case scenario. Yeah, exactly. Is there water pouring out my front door? So usually we'll get a response with that. And sometimes it's, what's this regarding? And then, of course, you explain who you are, what your intent is, and try to set that appointment for later. And the reason, I mean, you just have to continue to follow up, especially on those seller leads. I love to use this analogy, and I think we're going to incorporate this into one of our, I don't like to call it scripts, but one of our call role plays, where, I mean, think about, okay, so Matt, you just bought a brand new car. I hope you don't care that I just told everybody that, but you just bought a brand new car. How often do you go to Kelley Blue Book?
Oh, well, only when I'm thinking about selling my car.
Yeah. So with homes, it's a little bit different because people do kind of want to check their value, but usually when they are checking their value, they list their home. And I love to go back to that example where, I don't know if Justin Critchfield's on the call, but back when Justin and I were coaching together, I had him go through some of the leads that he had captured, and there was a significant number of the leads that had come in that had listed their home and somehow slipped through the cracks. So we had to build a better mousetrap for him and make it so that he could convert more of those leads. So the thought process is, it's like if people are checking their home value, there's a slightly higher chance that they're looking at selling. Same thing with Kelley Blue Book. I mean, the only time I get on there is when I'm looking to, trade in a lease or get a new car.
Sure.
So.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll tell the seller too, in our experience, usually when people check their home value, A, they're interested in refinancing, which we have some great partners for you, or B, they're interested in selling, which is why I'm calling you. I want to make sure that you have the absolute best listing presentation and marketing presentation that's been proven to sell homes quicker at the highest dollar amount in your neighborhood.
Gotcha.
Can you write that down and make that a script? We'll send that to Patrick.
Yeah.
Patrick,
well, the call is being
recorded. Callback,
buddy. Well, the call is being recorded. I'm seeing that question come in from a few folks, so I do want everybody just to know the call is being recorded. We will make it available, and so we'll have that there. So let's go back to the text script. So how does that look different for a buyer? So we have a really great text for a seller. What do you do differently for a buyer lead?
Usually just says, hey, thanks for registering on X website. We noticed that you were searching for homes in this area. We have a couple great possibilities, or you know what we'll do is usually I'll make our team actually pull up which homes they've favorited or which homes they've looked at and put the address in there and say, hey, the home on East Flower Street is, a great buy. It just hit the market. Would you like to go see it this weekend? And I mean, you got to remember, like with the different generations and age ranges and that type of thing, it's like, I mean, let's face it, it's like it's hard to get a millennial on the phone that's looking to buy a home, but they'll respond to a text in like 10 seconds. And I mean,
Sure.
I have some team members that, I mean, like I get responses on my text quicker than I feel like I even sent it. And, so you have different people that like to communicate different ways. So in regards to the text, I mean, you can take it any direction, but buyer text, definitely address a property that they clicked on. If you don't have that information, introduce yourself, use the same script. We believe that, the person deserves a callback or a contact from a professional, and this is the reason for my text. So.
Yeah, I really like that your script comes from, a place of service. You're here to help the client, whether it be to buy or sell or whatever it is. It really seems like it's coming from, the place of you're here to serve them as their professional. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's a goal. I mean, it's like when I put my information in, I totally expect a call back. So why wouldn't a real estate agent do their job?
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, and so the last part of Patrick's question here is, what's the easiest thing to email that actually seems like a market report? So do you have any tools or services that you use that, send out, a market report, or are you doing CMAs and emailing these out and printing them off and dropping them off at houses?
A lot of times what I'll do is I'll do a quick monsoon report when we do a door drop. Monsoon, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically a quick tax record down and dirty comp. But I basically make them understand that, you can't really value a home until you see it. I mean, I live in an area where the home across the street from another home could be $150 more a square foot. So, I mean, it's just like, so, I mean, you have to bring them present to that. But Market Snapshot, I still use Market Snapshot. I know everybody hates, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not the biggest fan of the top producer side of things, but their Market Snapshot product's amazing. And maybe you can send everybody a link to just buy Market Snapshot. But I use that tool over and over again, and I've told my coaching clients this many, many times that, when those market snapshots go out, it's not about nurturing that client, but it's about being in front of them so that you can get other referral business. Because I'll get that random call from like an RN that's like, hey, Trevin just forwarded your information over to me, and it's I'm looking to buy a home in the Arcadia area, and we'll have this great conversation, and I'm like thinking, gosh, it's so nice that Trevin did that. But it's like I go back to Market Snapshot. It's because he opened my Market Snapshot that morning. I was top of mind, and then he heard somebody from his work looking to buy a home. So that's a great tool. I know at GeoFarm we're constantly trying to improve our product. I know we have a consistent drip product that's coming out so that when these address captures and real leads go in, they'll be sent market updates also. But right now, the most robust one, and obviously they have a 12-year head start on us, but Market Snapshot from Top Producer.
Yeah, well, and that, I don't know if you knew because you're using Market Snapshot, but that is actually already in play here at GeoFarm. So if you have a GeoFarm landing page, there's just a simple checkbox on the back end that can enable for you to send out, we'll go out and pull a new value for the home, and every 30 days the client will get updated values. Now, it's not a full-blown report, but the values will be pulled and sent to the client, updated for that day, and happens every 30 days. And we do also integrate with Top Producer and Market Snapshot. So if you generate leads with GeoFarm, they can go right in from the GeoFarm landing page into your Top Producer Market Snapshot account if you have one, so that those just happen automatically.
See, and you know what just happened here right now is like I remember you telling me this a couple months ago. So guess what we're doing when we get off the call is we're going to plug my Market Snapshot into my GeoFarm landing page. So.
Sounds good. We'll get that taken care of for you. All right, so let's hit the next question. Donald has a question here. How do you train and keep your ISAs accountable? And I know you don't have ISAs, but
yeah, I mean,
so let's just kind of, from somebody who used to coach, how would you train and keep your ISAs accountable?
Okay, so like totally candid, clear, I use Conversion Pro here at GeoFarm. So, but let's go back to when I did train ISAs. So basically, I mean, you have to offer them a decent salary. It's good to pull an ISA out of a call center where they're already experienced, but they don't want to sell God knows what kind of pill or, gosh, I mean, think of all the telemarketing calls you get. But basically, you want to try to find somebody local that can come into the office, set hours, hold them accountable, train them to whatever scripts that you believe in, and the problem is most of the time they usually do really well because, when you make phone calls to expireds or buyers or sellers and all that stuff, you'll convert. And they get great, and then they leave you and go get their real estate license, and then they compete against you. So it's this ongoing circle of train somebody awesome, and the next thing you know, you're competing with them a year later. So, with Conversion Pro, it kind of checks a couple boxes for me. It's like, when I have that lead or that specific lead or that nurture list, they'll call on it and then warm transfer them to me with all the notes so that my team can work the lead in a manner, and they're not spending, gosh, we just got a warm transfer the other day. They've been calling them for 9 months. There's pages of notes, and we finally converted them. And the beautiful thing is, they're in the United States. They have this awesome, sweet accent that people like to listen to. And, it's just like I don't ever have to worry about them getting their Arizona real estate license and competing against me.
Yeah,
so having an outside ISA is so key. And they're so hard to find good ones in state that will show up. So,
yeah.
So training you train them like any buyer's agent to call and then keep them in-house, incentivize them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then I really like the accountability part of that question. Can you touch on that a little bit? So how would you keep an ISA accountable? Do you incentivize them based on a closing, or what do you find is the best way to keep them accountable to make sure they're on top of your leads?
Well, with the last 2 ISAs we had in office, and both of them were licensed, so let me get that clear up front, but you can bonus them on closed transactions if they are licensed. And, they were incentivized to hand that buyer off and edify that agent so that the buyer knows that the agent that they're working with is the best in the area that they're working with. So of course, yes, we used to spit them or bonus them on each warm transfer and then also on each closing. And that's for licensed ones. If you guys have ISAs that are unlicensed, I'm pretty sure in all 50 states that's illegal to pay them a commission based on a closing. But
sure,
obviously you'd want to talk to your broker about that. I know our ISAs, they're bonused on amount of transfers. They're bonused on like 7 KPIs that Jeff set up that basically it gives them the reason to want to be happy on the phone and transfer leads to the agents.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Another cool thing is, like, I get compliments too. They're like, I've never had anybody follow up with me like your team, because that ISA is basically part of my team, is the way I present it. And I remember this one seller that I had. It was an extremely difficult seller, and we've all had that client. Well, she registered on our website to check out her home, and and eventually she's like, how do I get your team to stop calling me? I really appreciate the follow-up, and I'm so glad that you guys do that for my listing, but like, how do I get them to stop? I'm like, oh, you can just ask them to remove yourself from the list, or I'll make a call. But to me, it was like the biggest compliment, knowing that like one of my sellers checked up on me and they got followed up on like every single day, twice a day. So, and then also having that person that's like from what hours do they work? 7 to 7, like 7 days a week or something?
Yeah, so our call center, it's in Montgomery, Alabama. You touched on the accent parts. They have a great southern accent. They're professional telemarketers, and our call center is open from, it's always open. And we give agents coverage from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. in their local time zone, wherever that might be. So for you, Mountain Standard Time right now, Arizona is the only state that doesn't participate in daylight savings time, so our hours are a little funky, but you get coverage from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. So when that lead comes in, they're on it, they're given a call within 10 minutes and on the phone with that potential buyer or seller.
Yeah. Well, it's a great tool, and especially when it's like, okay, I'm at the train park with my son, it's his birthday, it's like, and that lead comes in, and it's one of those odd Sundays or Super Bowl Sunday, let's just say. It's like you can just transfer it within our system and it goes right to the call center. And I know that lead's going to get followed up on versus having that anxiety in the back of my mind of like, God, I got to call this guy as soon as I get home, and then you get distracted. I'm like, okay, I got to call him the next day, and then by then he's already got a sign in the yard.
Yeah, Absolutely. Speed to lead, speed kills. Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. This one's from Corey. Corey asks, most of the ad messages seem so lame. We have buyers or values are up. Do you really send these items time after time?
Yeah. I mean, so Corey, think about it this way. You're a real estate agent, so you see this stuff all the time. It's like take driving through your neighborhood, right? You can probably figure out who's got the most listings in your neighborhood, right? But the average client that's driving through the neighborhood just sees the red and black signs, and they don't really pay dead-on attention to exactly what they say. But I mean, we spent, can I say hundreds of thousands of dollars testing these ads? And the reality, are we talking about online ads or on the postcards? Or let's talk both. Let's talk both.
Yeah, let's talk about both.
The Facebook ads, so obviously we use a specialty software that nobody has, and basically that software will test several different ads in different areas. So if you're in Lehi, Utah, the map card may be more efficient, where if you're in Austin, Texas, the We Have Buyers may be more effective that day. And in real time, and I don't know if I want to call it artificial intelligence, but in real time, it'll test what's working that day and then run it. And then, with Facebook, you have degradation. So if you're running your own stuff, you got to change stuff like every other day because people get tired of seeing it. So it'll change it for you. And that's how we get such a low cost per lead under our ad management program. And it's not cheap, but it's like, there's no better system. I can run ads next to GeoFarm all day long, and GeoFarm beats my cost per lead like every single time in every single area because we have that software that we run for you. So to answer your question, yeah, it seems stupid to see that all the time on Facebook, but people click on it and it works. Like, we have real numbers that back that up. Our CEO is an extreme operator, and he just shows me the numbers. And even I look at it sometimes, I'm like, people click on that? But at the end of the day, it's like exactly what Tom says. It's like test, and then use whatever works. And that's what we do. So yes, on the postcards it worked. That new listing that we just got for 1.65 on Lawnful was it was just a picture of a young couple toasting, the move and some boxes. And just on the side of the card it says, what did that card say? It just said that
it said we have buyers. You have a house. Or you have buyers.
Yeah. We have a house, or you have a house. We have buyers. Should we talk? Right.
That was it.
She just plucked the card out of the mail and called me and said, we have kind of a unique home, so you probably don't have buyers for my home, but can you come over in an hour and take a look at it? Listed it that night, and actually that home's going on the market like next week. So. But anyways, that's a perfect example where it's something so simple, because the way you got to look at it is one of my biggest pet peeves is real estate agents have a way to make marketing look like crap. I'm going to say that. We make things too busy. We got to add this, got to do this, infographics, this. It's just like you want to keep it simple. Basically, if you can't get the point from the time that you take the piece out of the mailbox and the 3 seconds you look at it while it goes into the trash can, if you can't get that point across in that time frame, then basically you're just wasting your money. And I get postcards all the time in my neighborhood where it's just like there's so much content on there. I'm like, who reads this? It's just keep it simple, keep infographics in there. Even our market updates are very clean, and they're designed to give people an article and then they fade into the numbers, but give them something of value. That was my other big pet peeve. It's like, nobody gives a crap about the recipe of the month. They're not calling you for your cooking advice. They want to know what's their home value, what's going on in their neighborhood, and how can you bring value to them. So I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant here. So think of if you're geographic farming, think, okay, so you live in the area, what would bring value to the area? I think here, this is an expensive piece, which a friend of mine, Anthony, up in Northern California sends out every year, but he creates a calendar of the front doors of the homes in his neighborhood. I don't know, that's a thing, I guess, is like, the front doors of the front entryways, where for me it's like the front entryways of Arcadia, and showcasing it. And then he sends it out to the entire neighborhood. It's a calendar. And it's a really, really great tool because people are proud of where they live in specific neighborhoods, and they'll put something like that on the wall, or coming up with a good door knocking campaign, or one of my good friends, Don Matheson, like right around tax season, he does he mails out to his geographic farm and, does a shred-a-thon. And he has tons and tons of people that show up because you're bringing value to the neighborhood. And yeah, Don's getting a lot of credit and a lot of juice for that, but at the end of the day, he thought to himself, how do I bring value to the neighborhood? And he does that type of stuff. And something we're going to be doing this year is we're hiring a professional photographer. And my wife and I figured this out when like 4 of our friends are like, hey, you have a DSLR, will you come take our family photo for Christmas? We're gonna hire a professional photographer with 3 different backgrounds and pay them for the day, and we're going to invite our entire geographic farm to come out, bring their families, and get professional photos done for their Christmas cards. And
Wow.
I expect a huge, we may even have to hire 2 photographers, but I expect a lot of people to do that. So that's stuff that hasn't even happened yet, guys. Write that down. But give value,
in the
that's
works.
the key.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got way off topic.
No, this is all good stuff.
That's a good question, though, Corey.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and really timely, especially with that card you just sent out that literally says, we have buyers, you have a home, we should talk. Really straight to the point, and should we talk, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, that's great. All right, so our next question is from Bill. Bill asked, what's the relationship between dollars spent on Facebook ads and number of seller valuation leads? This is a question I actually might be a little better prepared to answer than you, Chris, because we live in the data here at Geographic Farm. Yeah, no, actually, I have them handy. Your numbers. So your campaign, you spend $10 a day on Facebook ads. I don't know if you know that or not,
so
but
like
you do.
$300 a month. Yeah.
$300 a month you're spending on Facebook ads with us through our technology platform, and your cost per lead right now is $20 a lead. Now, your market's a little different. You're really high-end price point. The most expensive markets in Arizona are where you market. So, I expect that cost per lead to be in that $20 range. So you're right at $20.21 over the last 30 days.
Sweet, I'm at $20 a lead. And the two, just to be clear, the areas that I'm going after are not cheap homes. Obviously, it's like if you go into a cheaper area, you have a higher amount of leads and a lower cost per lead. Or who's that guy that we just talked about in the cross-functional that was getting it was like $1.87 a lead or something? But it depends on geographically where you are. And now keep in mind, if you're in the heart of Orange County or like in the heart of Manhattan, you're not going to get $20 a lead. But the thing is like $20 a lead, when you look at the big picture, I'm like, well, shoot, spending $487 a lead on Zillow, I'm spending X amount on, it's like if you go through all the different numbers, and I just know Zillow because I've been really kind of tuning that one up lately, but it's just like you look at the cost per lead with a lot of different sources, Geographic Farm keeps my team extremely busy and keeps them in front of clients and keeps them door knocking, dropping packages. And no joke, I was with a friend the other night at a marketing, I'm going to call it a marketing dinner, and I showed him how many leads that I got in a month. And it's like within a second, he's like, yeah, make sure we get signed up for that tomorrow. So you probably already heard from him, but it's just kind of like you can't lie. Like, here's my iPhone. Here's every single lead that we've gotten in a given month. So it makes sense that we're about $20 a lead if we're spending $300. So
yeah, that's like 15. That's 15 a month just off of Facebook, and in addition to that, there's twice as many address captures of partial leads of people that come into the landing page, give their address, and then when they see you want their name, email, phone number, they leave. I want to save that because we got a ton of questions on what your strategy for follow-up on address captures are. So I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but we'll definitely get into that. Now, so our next question is from Albert, and Albert asks, how many postcards a year do you send out? Not including just listed, just sold. So just strictly farming in your farm, how many postcards do you send out a year, Chris?
Well, I try to hit them twice a month. And of course, if we're really busy with coming soons or just solds, of course we'll send out a few extras. But we have just over 2,000 homes in our farm. So figure 2,000 twice a month, so that's 4,000 cards times 12. What is that?
Yeah, you're about that's 40. That's 48,000.
48,000.
I know you're you're over 2,000. So over 50,000 cards a month are being sent out, give or take.
Yeah,
or not a month. I'm sorry, a year.
A year. Yeah, a year.
A
So
year.
about 4,000 a month. But it's like, you look at my area, it's like really one and a half closings pays for my geo farm for the entire year.
No,
It's like
more than just 1 year.
well, actually, you know what? Just that one closing will pay for my geo farm for almost a year and a half. I don't have a
Yeah.
calculator in front of me, but I'm sure that's true if I plug it in there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, and farming is a long-term strategy. How long have you been farming there?
Over 4 years now.
Over 4 years.
And it's an extremely fierce competitive area. We're starting to branch out into the areas that agents don't really focus on as much. And instantly, it's like those cards will go out, and we'll have a lower cost per lead. And I mean, the postcard leads, I mean, those are the best. I mean, it's just like usually those are either come list me or put me on the calendar for this date is when I want to list the home, so you can put them in your follow-up system. The online leads, I mean, you got to work those. I mean, those take a little bit of chasing and equity, but the postcard leads are key. So, and one thing I've learned is like, I mean, you got to answer your phone for every out-of-state number. And I know a lot of us, when we get an out-of-state call, it's usually a sales call, but what I found in my farm, it's like, oh yeah, we're at our vacation home and we got your postcard forwarded to us. And,
Yeah.
and then I'll get that Minnesota like home capture, and I'm like, well, how did the card get to Minnesota? Then I realized it was forwarded through Arcadia.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. Well, and I think that really, ties. Actually, I'm going to jump ahead to a question from Matt. Asked, is direct mail still effective in 2017? I think we just kind of talked about that ad nauseum, but I mean, just
Matt,
real
you know where my
opinion.
chips are on the table now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just it. I mean, like I practice what I preach. I use direct mail. It works. We have this gym in my area called the Orange Theory, and they follow our exact campaign. I don't know if they took it from us or it's just that it works so well that other marketing firms are doing it where, they'll do several touches in the first month, second month, third month, and they'll drip on the area, the farm, for several months after that. And it's just like whenever an Orange Theory opens in my area, like you freaking know about it. I mean, like you know all about that gym. And the goal is like when you hit somebody like once or twice a month in their mailbox, it's like you're the only person that's on their radar. They're like thinking, God, this guy sells everything. So yeah, direct mail works. I mean, well, put it this way. If you go to your mailbox and you don't get any postcards, direct mail has probably died. But the reality is that would make me want to mail more. So yes, people do. That's the one. Who asked that question?
Matt.
So Matt, I can send you 20 emails and every one of them will go to your spam inbox. But if I sent you a card to your home, basically you're forced to open it or you're forced to see it. So I mean, there's I don't know how to put a value on that and the branding behind it. So yeah, direct mail works. And the one thing I've found is, God, I coached a lot of top agents in a lot of areas. I've coached coaches. The one common denominator between all the ones that had successful teams and always did well is every single one of them was geo-farming in one way or another. Some of them using our company too. So, but all of them were geo-farming. It's like the common denominator. Direct mail works for that reason. So to answer your question, yes, 100% confidence.
Excellent.
Don't even need
glad
to phone a
to
friend.
hear. Cool. Well, let's move on to the next question. This one's from Jeremy Ward. He's a client of ours.
Oh yeah, I know
and yes, and so his question is, what does your listing presentation consist of? And
well, Matt, without spending a lot of time on it, like, go ahead and send the link to everybody who asks for it. Please, guys, don't like email me for it. Email Matthew for it, or Matt. Who do you want him to email for that link to the PDF?
Yeah, you can email me directly. And actually, while we're here, why don't I just throw it into the handout section of this webinar? So I'm going to go ahead and drop. We did a really great video. In case you missed it, it's on our YouTube channel of everything that Chris puts into a door drop when he goes and door knocks for a seller lead. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop those into the handout section, and there's, that way everybody can.
If you guys go to the last page of my listing presentation, there's a reason why I finished it this way. I think I got this idea from my buddy Nazar, but then we've made some adaptations to make it even better. But it helps you actually show a seller how to price a home correctly when you're competing against those agents that are promising them a really, really high number so they can get a sign in the yard. Oh, there it goes. It just popped right up. So basically, the last page of this, when you use that tool and it's explained correctly, maybe we can do that in a future video. I can go through my listing presentation. But it really helps you get the listing, and it helps you get the listing at the right price while also outing the agent that's giving the seller a bullshit number that their home won't sell at to get a sign in the yard.
Yeah, yeah, we all know that happens. So cool. Well, we'll go ahead and share those listing presentations. It's in the handout section. You guys can download it there and, literally just take Chris's listing presentation. So we'll share that with everybody there in the handout section. And if you can't download it or don't get it for some reason, or you're listening to this recording in the future, just email me, Matthew@geographicfarm.com, and I'll make sure to get a copy over to you. So cool. Let's go on to the next question. Angela asked, what size farm should a person start with?
Depends on your level of experience. I always have people look at what they have in the way of income coming in and what type of marketing that they're currently spending money on. And then the question is that marketing working, and can you pull it and put it in other places? So Matt, you know the most effective product. Which one would you suggest? What would the sales team suggest? I know when I first started, it was like 500 homes once a month, and we just grew from there.
Yeah, well, and it really just depends on the farm. Every situation's different. You can give us a call here and we can do a farm consultation with you, Angela, but really 500 to 1,000 is a great place to start. And then as far as the frequency, it just really depends on, your experience in a marketplace. If you're the dominant agent, if you're doing a lot of the deals in that farm already, you can get away with once a month mailing. But if you're not, if you're coming into a new area and looking to take the top dog off the mark, then you really have to hit them more than once a month, twice a month at the minimum. And then, we have, like you mentioned, the, kind of the Orange Theory. We call it the combination plan, where they're getting 3 postcards a month for the first 3 months, then twice a month for the rest of the year. So, it really just kind of depends. Yeah,
you're going to break into your farm if you do that. But that's the other cool thing about our staff, and obviously Jeff's implemented some great data collection type tools. So, if you're in Texas, basically you're in an area where nobody direct mails and everybody reads their mail. So you may be able to get away with an essential 500 in certain areas. But if you're in the heart of California where everybody direct mails and everybody's a top agent, you're going to need a domination package to get your foot in the door. So I know it's kind of a cop-out to say, well, it depends on where you are, but the truth is that's why Geographic Farm's here. We have those numbers. We know who opens their mail, where they open it, what the most effective campaign would be, and the key thing is get it going, and then get through that. What do we want to call it? The honeymoon period, where it takes some time and some traction for GeoFarm to start kicking in. Some people do send out their first 500 cards and get a listing or two. And and they're the exception to the norm, but the reality is you should see a bulk of your interest paying off between month 6 and month 12. So you really have to put some cards in the mailboxes before you start getting those calls and start getting recognized.
Sure, absolutely. Cool. Well, we're coming up here, 45 minutes in. I know we have an hour of your time, and I want to make sure we respect your time. So I'm going to give you a few kind of rapid fire here so we make sure to get everyone's questions answered. This one's coming in from Ginger. How do you convert a seller lead that has come in as just curious? I'm assuming this is coming from Ginger's GeoFarm landing page, because we have that drop-down option where the seller can identify their level of interest, and just curious is an option on there. So how do you treat those just curious leads? Do you treat them any different?
No, I treat them like they want to sell. Whenever somebody's just curious, that's their way of saying, I don't want to be bombarded. But the reality is they still, call, text, email, door drop them. Get your information in front of them, because just curiouses most of the time turn into listings in 6 months.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so follow up with them like a regular lead, even though they're just curious. And maybe they are a refi referral that you can send to your lender too.
Yeah, No, absolutely. And I think, kind of going back to that example of, put them on a drip, put them on that market snapshot, regardless if they do something with you or not, if you stay top of mind for them and give them
Yeah.
excellent service, they're going to keep you in mind when somebody has a need for an agent.
I just have I mean, it's funny because this just came up this morning. I got notified of a new listing on Tuberia, and it was like they were just curious 4 months ago, and they didn't list with me. But
Oh.
yeah, so the question is, it's like, who followed up with them from the team? Where did the wheels fall off the bus there, and how do we correct it so it doesn't happen again? And that was a just curious one because I'm like, God, I know that address. I plug it in. I see the GeoFarm lead. I see that they were just curious, and I know which agent I need to follow up with on that.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, absolutely. Cool. Well, let's move on to the next question. This one's from Jimmy. Jimmy asked, differences in leads, postcard versus Facebook, and the best follow-up practice. And so this is kind of the same question, different topic. Is Facebook lead versus postcard lead? Do you treat them differently?
No, I mean, I make our team and myself treat every lead as if it is a postcard lead. The reality is the conversion ratio is much better on postcards than it is online, but it's almost like if you knew that it was a postcard lead versus a online lead, as they were coming in the second that they blew up your phone with that text, it's like, would you treat them the same? Absolutely you would. It's just you want to follow up with every single lead and basically take the psychology of postcard versus online lead off the table because they both will convert. But the honest truth is a postcard lead is a much higher chance of converting. So.
Yeah, I mean, our data shows it's twice as likely to convert. So, I mean, yeah, that is, we do know that.
We got the data to back it up, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't treat them any differently. And the reality is, it's like if you're getting too many leads to where you have to make that choice, then you have a really good problem. You need to hire some more agents.
Yeah,
Who's
absolutely.
Jimmy? Is that Jimmy Reed?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Jimmy Reed. He's a client of ours.
Good guy. Had a conversation with him.
Excellent. Well, sorry, I lost my. Next question here is from Melanie. Melanie asked, what's the best follow-up practice for people that run away from the site and then she gets the fetch info? So for those of you who don't know, with our Geographic Farm landing page, we have an additional service called fetch, where if they abandon the site before giving their contact information and only give an address, we send that address off to try and get the additional information for the homeowner. And the data is accurate about 25% of the time. You'll get data back about half the time, and about half the time it's going to be accurate. So, Chris, how do you follow up with those leads with the fetch info?
We should post that YouTube video for the one that we did, but real quick, it's like, okay, so if they put in fake information, I throw them back in the site so I can get their fetch info. The info I've been getting, I mean, I get 2 or 3 phone numbers. I think it's more accurate than that, but I guess geographically it depends on where you are.
Sure.
And then also, like, if I don't get the info that I want from Fetch and it's an address in an area that I really badly want, I'll go on Intellis, and I always have problems spelling their company, but just Google it. If you plug in the address or the phone number, you can find out who the homeowner is and all their email addresses and phone numbers. You can send a mass text or mass email. Touching base with them and explaining to them you have buyers in the area, and make sure that you do. I mean, we always do, but that being said, it's like, I use Intellis to follow up with them, the reality is once they get to the point where it's like name, phone number, and email, they're like, nope, I'm out. But if you still find a way to follow up with them, and people always ask me this question, like on Facebook, and I get messages and stuff that, like, well, what do you say when you're calling somebody from Launch just recently asked me this question. What do you say, like, when you're going after an address capture only and they know they didn't put their information in? I just simply reply like Matt asked me right now, like, well, how did you get my information? So Matt, hey, I saw you were on X website, and I just wanted to touch base with you because for some reason, like, all your information didn't go in there, and what we found is when people check their home value, they're usually interested in selling, so that's why I'm following up with you.
I didn't put my information in your site. How'd you get me?
Oh, it's a technology we use. It just gives me your real information. So have you had any thoughts on selling? It's just as simple as that. Sure. I blame it on Geo. I blame it on us. It's like, oh yeah, no, yeah. My website just gives me your real information. It actually kind of piques their interest. It creates an interesting conversation. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely have my attention. Well, and I think that covers actually my next 4 questions. All had to do with address captures. What's the best practices for following up with that address capture? I feel like you covered that really, really well. And then I have one from Glenda Baker, another GeoFarm client, long-term client of ours. Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, Glenda. Um, and so she asked, what's the best pop by to leave for an address capture? We did the video, your packet. Have you ever done anything besides just the packet that we, shared in the handout section here?
We've done combinations. I like to take a previous listing that we sold in the area and write with a Sharpie on there, sold the next number of days, let's chat. Something handwritten in that package. I guess we didn't really cover that in the video is key. This coming from Glenda, one of the most creative agents I know. Like one of your small cookie things. Like anything you can add to it to make yourself unique, I think is a good idea. And differentiating yourself, because the reality is most agents aren't going to follow up how Glenda will follow up. And so take a look at that video with what we do, how we do it, and what's in my package there that I drop at a door. I'd be kind of curious to follow up with Glenda in a couple months from now and say, how would you make this better? It's just like, I don't think that I've got it all figured out. It's just like whenever I talk to somebody or I have a conversation or I message them, I'm like, okay, so now after you do this, figure out a way to make it better and then share it back with me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you for the question, Glenda. Next one here is from Steve. Steve has follow-up boss, and he wants to know what the best practice for leads with partial information is. And I'll answer that part, Chris. We do integrate with follow-up boss, so your leads and your partial leads can go right into follow-up boss, Steve. And after this call, I'll reach out to you. We can make sure and get that connected for you. But the second part of his question is what I have for you, Chris, is when do you toss the lead away? When do you give up?
Well, I'll always put them on some sort of long-term drip, and I know that most of the time they're getting my postcard and they're seeing me online. So, you never really throw away a lead. Like, to use a perfect example, we had somebody register with the username F word, and then the second part I can't even say. But they used their real email, so we knew who their name was, and a fake phone number, right? Well,
Sure.
That guy eventually converted. Or we had dinner the other night with Lance, and he gave a great analogy where he had some guy named Santa Claus register, fake name.
Oh,
but he
yeah.
kept on coming back to the site and following up. And remember, he's like, Santa Claus walked into my office. He's like, I'm Santa Claus, and I've never seen an agent follow up like you. I'm ready to buy. I don't know if they walked in the office or he called them, but it was a great analogy where it'll convert. I've had clients in the past with fake information or people that tell me that they have no interest in buying or selling. It's like get them on a top producer drip or get them on a GeoFarm drip. Get them, on something to where you're in front of them. I think if it's really like a long-term play, I don't know that I'd want to be in front of them more than quarterly. Some coaches may disagree with me on that, but I think when you receive something monthly, you feel like you're being spammed. But quarterly, it's like it's more relevant. But I don't know. You can choose whatever you want there. But
so
no,
really
you just keep them in your database.
Never.
Continue to follow up with them. You just never know. And I have all my databases synced with my iPhone, so when they do eventually call, it'll say name and it'll say GeoFarm lead as their company name is what I put it in my Apple contacts as, so that when they do call in, I can answer the phone to their first name.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Really just kind of keeping them in the system forever.
Yep. Yeah, forever.
Cool. All right.
Build the database.
Let's jump to the next. Absolutely. Fill in the funnel of seller leads. All right. So the next one is from Katrina, and she has a very specific question I'm hoping we can help her out with. And so how do you pick the best farm area in a resort community with a 10% realtor population in the community? So what would your strategy be if that was your market, Chris?
Katrina gets the award for the most difficult question. Okay, so picking a farm in a vacation rental area or an out-of-state owner area?
Resort community. So I assume these are going to be a lot of secondary homes or vacation.
Go back to the basics. What's great about those areas is you don't need to be a dominating agent to take over in those areas because those people are going to read their mail much more than drive through the neighborhoods and look at signs because they may only be in town for a couple months or a couple weeks out of the year. So go back to the basics. Is there a 6, 7, 8% turnover rate or better? and then what that area, it's going to get forwarded some way or another to where their actual home is. And when you're mailing to, I mean, those places are like gold mines. So I'm glad you asked that question, because out-of-state owners, they read their mail, because how else can they stay in touch with the real estate market down there? They're not answering the door most of the year. So I would believe, and I personally believe, that like that would be a great farm. But you know, if the turnover rate's 2%, bag it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you cut out on me there, and I don't know if the rest of the call got to hear you, but I think you're kind of touching on first-class postage, and that's really kind of what jumped out at me, Katrina, when I read this question, is resort community, out-of-state owners, you really have to use first-class postage. With first-class postage, you get that forwarding and return service, so you make sure that that piece is going to be forwarded to the homeowner wherever they might be in the country. And then mailed to their tax mailing address, of course. With the 10% realtor population part of that question, Chris, how would you approach that? I know that we took your mailing list and made sure to scrub for all the agents and make sure they're not on your mailing list.
There's software programs out there that you can pull databases of realtors, and it has their home address in it, and you can scrub it and pull it off. I mean, I live in an area where you can't like hit a 9-iron without hitting another realtor's house. Like they're all commercial real estate agents or real estate agents that live in my area, and we've done a pretty good job in scrubbing. You can't get them all off the list, but I don't really think you should mail to realtors. But I guess the other question is what if they're a realtor and they are out of state? So you need to find out what database has the information for your agents. Like here in town, in Phoenix, we have this broker matrix database that has everything in it. And it's designed for brokers and recruiting and all that stuff. But I mean, like when you pull a broker matrix report, it's got a home address, it's got their cell phone number. I mean, so you can scrub that information. There's always a way to get that data. So I challenge our sales team to figure that out for her.
All right, cool. Well, we're coming up here at the end of the hour. Like I said, Chris, I definitely want to respect your time, and we got through just about all the questions. I do have a few here in the question box that we'll just have to address via email after the call. But do you have anything you want to close with?
No, I mean, for those of you who are clients, I really appreciate you being a part of our company and our vision, our dream. We're kind of always making this better. And, you know, we're here for you. You know, work with your MCs, work with, you know, everybody here at the office. And you know, I joke around because my marketing coordinator is Paige, and I call her like the friendly bulldozer, and she just has a way of just like getting the information out of me so that I can get my cards out every single month. You know, so utilize the tools that we have here for you guys, and yeah, I can hear her laughing in the other room. she's the friendly bulldozer that makes sure that I get my stuff out, you know, because we all need that accountability and that reminder of, hey, you just took this listing, you want to get a just listed card out, and you know, just utilize the tools that we have here, utilize our sales team to analyze your farms. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, we'll give you all the information, but what you'll find is you'll fall short on consistency, and that's why we exist, is to make things consistent and to help you guys. So for our clients, thank you so much. If you're not a client of ours, hopefully you give us a chance. I think that's it. Thanks, everybody. Matt, thanks for setting this up. This is a good call.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Well, I hope this is the first of many, and I hope we can have you back in the office to do more of these in the upcoming months.
Sounds good.
Cool. Well, thank you, everybody. I will make this recording available so you can always reference back to it, and I hope to hear from you soon. Take care.
So, Matt, look at the top here. Like, everybody who started the call stayed on the call.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and quit it, though.
Yeah.
So that's a good call. Thanks, guys. Thanks for staying on and not just dipping out mid-call, because we can see that.
We track it. All right.
Hang up.
Thanks, guys. Bye. Take care.